welcome in. Welcome in. I'm going to try something new today. Hopefully there's no feedback. I got speakers and I want to make sure that there is no feedback. Real quick, I want everybody, I'm not sure if you were around yesterday. Cindy, my mind's not okay today. I'm going to drop the link and I have asked and made sure that everybody is to chat would be in the Rubber Ramada room. We are doing some changes and I am working on building up hours on the Rubber Ramada channel because we don't know what's going to happen with the True Crime channel just yet. We're still working on it. So you're here. Hi, Ma. Hi, Ma. There's my baby girl. I seen Cash sneak in here too. Hey, Cash. Christine's here this morning. Okay. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're not just going to do just trial stream. We're going to do sentencings and court hearings. I have a few put together. We have Cash is a new member. Okay, Cash. Okay. Well, thank you, love. I appreciate that. We'll do the one thing that I don't do very often. Here. There's a new member thing. All right. See, I don't use it very often. Anyway, so we're gonna go from squirrel. We got major squirrel issues in here. We're gonna do the Jose Soto-Escalera. He has a Spencer hearing, and then Huston Danker, who was part of the Karina Cooper debacle. He also was sentenced, and Darriynn Brown, which is the Gernon murder. I think Cash might be in. Cash, you see this link? You see this link I'm dropping, Cash? Click on that. You be in the other room where everybody else is. I have it pinned at the top. So people, when they come in, and I will drop it periodically to let everybody know that we are over in the rubber room to work on getting those hours up and everything. So we can do more lives from there and you like it here. Okay. Cash likes it there. He likes being green. Let him be green. Anyway, so we'll go from the Cash Gernon, the young man that was schizophrenic that took Cash Gernon's life. We will do that sentencing. And Taylor Schabusiness, our favorite Taylor. Taylor Schabusiness is she's back in court. She had a hearing today. So we will go over that. So I've got 4 different things we're going to go over. You wish you could sue. It's okay. It's okay. I don't mind. I enjoy doing this, babe. You know that. Yeah, I think his name's Darriynn Brown. Darriynn Brown. Yeah, he was schizophrenic, is what it turns out. But he did go to a mental hospital, and he is now, he was sentenced just the other day. So I do have that sentencing also. Hey, TCN. Which room are you in, girl? Which room are you in? You're in the right room. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're over there hanging out with Cash. You saw he pled guilty? Okay, well, we have the sentencing today. We have the sentencing. So there's the link for the room that everybody else is chatting in. So, okay, we're going to just hit roll tape. And we're going to, what I want to do is we're going to do a couple of short reviews of who they are, so you know who it is exactly we're talking about before I do the this is why I love Cash. He's a train wreck that I love. True crime. It's a quiet room. Popping in to hit the like. Well, thank you, Journey. And as I've asked everybody, I please, give me time to get everything straightened out and everything. And hey, no more ads. No more ads, right? We're not a monetized channel, so you're not going to get ads over here until we're monetized. So we've got a ways to go. Oh, you have no more ads because I gave you YouTube Premium, baby girl. Okay, so I want to review a couple of each of them. Each of the cases before we actually watch the sentencing, so we know a little bit and make sure we understand which gosh, I don't even know what to call them, which I was going to say murder, but that's not correct. I don't want to use that term. Which incident they are involved with. So we will review each one shortly before. So
opening statements are expected to begin on Monday. Defendant Jose Antonio Soto-Escalera is accused of murdering his mistress, 23-year-old Tanya Wise, as well as their unborn child. Soto-Escalera was married to someone else at the time of the murder, and he does face the death penalty in this case. Court TV's Michael Ayala has more on the background.
August 23rd, 2018, a motorist driving down a rural road in St. Lucie County, Florida, makes a horrifying discovery. The body of 23-year-old Tanya Wise lying in a ditch. She was found face down in the weeds with one of her hands still clenched tight. She was also 8.5 months pregnant.
To lose a child, it's just, there's no words for it. And then to lose my grandson too, there's no words for it.
Tanya Wise was just weeks away from giving birth and was already scheduled for a cesarean section. A month after her body was found, police arrested 41-year-old Jose Soto-Escalera.
Today, the final piece of this very complex puzzle has been put in place.
According to court documents, Soto told police that he was married and had 4 children. He also admitted to knowing Tanya Wise, but said there was no chance that he was the father of her unborn baby. However, police were able to make a DNA match and determine that Jose Soto-Escalera was the father of the baby. Investigators say that Soto gave Wise $500 to have an abortion. Well, not only did she not have the abortion, she was threatening to tell his wife about the pregnancy. Jose Soto-Escalera is now charged with the first-degree murder of Tanya Wise and her unborn son, Josiah. If he is convicted, he could be sentenced to death.
okay, so with that, he was sentenced. He did get the death penalty, and we are now at a hearing. It is a Spencer hearing. Now, a Spencer hearing, I'm going to read to y'all what a Spencer hearing is for. Excuse me. Spencer hearing is a specific type of hearing named after the 1993 Florida Supreme Court case Spencer versus Florida that is used in Florida's criminal justice system before a judge imposes a sentence. It's not a legal proceeding in Texas. Oh, okay, because now it's telling me about Darriynn Brown. The Spencer hearing allows a defendant convicted of a serious crime to present any additional mitigating evidence to the judge before sentencing is final. It is not an opportunity to challenge the conviction itself, but rather argue for a lesser penalty. Now, we know that they gave him life. They gave him life is what the jury recommended. So with that, had 4 children. Yes, he had 4 children. Yes. Yep. Crazy. So we're going to listen to the Spencer hearing. And yes, I totally agree with Muffins here. Keep calling her a mistress. That is so degrading. Even, I mean, as a I wouldn't call myself a victim's advocate. I'm not a victim's advocate. I just speak very freely in my my feelings towards a lot of this stuff. And as a person who I am, even them just calling her out as a mistress on this really bothered me. As a victim, she shouldn't be talked of that way. I just don't feel it should be said that way. Okay, so this gets very spicy. I have seen bits and pieces. People have put little blurbs. The lawyer and Soto actually get into it. So, yes, and he is not a child. She is not a child. Not he. She. 23 is not a child. So, okay.
All right, we're on the record. All parties present. We have Esquire reporting here as well. You see anybody in your waiting room? We do have people on the Zoom. They just haven't turned on the Zoom. Here, no, they have turned on. You'll see them in a second.
You are in the meeting now.
That's not me. They are in the meeting now.
All right, so I see the names of the people. I don't know if you see their names, but you can see their pictures.
Yes, there's Dr. Schwartz.
All right, and so we're here for the Spencer hearing in the case of the state of Florida versus Jose Soto-Escalera. It's case number 18 CF 2614. And from the defense, any additional evidence for the court to consider in its decision-making process?
Yes, Judge, you'll see on the Zoom, we have Shari Schwartz, our mitigation specialist. She, I think, can offer us a better insight into the history of Jose's family than his family. I think she may be a better historian of those facts. And we'd like to take some testimony from her on that issue. She has prepared a report, Judge. I'd like to, I only have the one copy, I think. No, we have an extra copy. We can give a copy to the court. I don't
Sure.
know if Ms. Schwartz will be reading it in its entirety or whether we'll just go over it point by point.
Sure. State have a copy as well?
We do now.
All right.
So that's what we would call at this time, Judge.
All right, so Ms. Schwartz, if you raise your right hand, I will swear you. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right.
I will pause there to say this. I appreciate Cindy. I appreciate Journey, TCN, every one of you in here. Hannah, all of y'all, you all have your own opinions. And the fact that we can all sit here and discuss it openly and everybody get along, I am so appreciative that we can all have this open discussion, you know, and you know, we all have different feelings towards things and different triggers and emotions sometimes. And, you know, it's just awesome to me that we can sit as a community and discuss things like that. You're doing research. I know what you're researching. Okay, absolutely. That's my muffins. Okay.
Mr. Burns, you may inquire.
Well, Cash, the woman he was seeing was the woman that he got pregnant. And then he decided to take her life and her baby's life. She was 8.5 months pregnant. She was fixing to go in the following week for a C-section. And he didn't want his wife to find out. And so I, from everything I heard in trial, he just didn't want his wife to know. And the easiest way for his wife to not find out was get rid of her and the baby. Took care of it. And calling her a mistress is just, I don't know, it's just kind of gross to me, but I mean, it is what it is. Calling her his side piece isn't right either. So side chick, side piece is his fuck buddy. I mean, you know, at that age, called all different kinds of things, different perspectives. Cindy's right on that. Journey. Spencer versus Florida is often used in capital cases to present mitigating evidence that could lead to a lesser sentence. Yes, his baby's life. That was the worst of all things. An unborn child, not only taking a living, walking human life, but an unborn child also. Total disgusting.
Tell us who you are and what are your qualifications for the work that you do,
Okay.
Ms. Schwartz?
My name is Shari Schwartz, and I have a PhD in psychology from Florida International University, and I work primarily as a mitigation and specialist sentencing advocacy, but I also do victim advocacy work as well, not on the same case.
And how long have you been so engaged?
Since 2010. I started with the Miami-Dade Public Defender's Office Capital Litigation Unit in January 2010, and then I went out on my own in January of 2014.
Is that when you founded Panther Advocacy and Litigation Sciences?
Correct.
And how long have you been involved in this case?
It's a little just shy of 2 years.
Where are you coming to us from right now?
I am in West Virginia working, not on vacation, or I would be in court. And
Very
I
good.
apologize for that.
No, that's fine. Do you have the report that you prepared with you?
I get what you're saying, Cash. It's mistress has a connotation. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Now I get what you're saying. I understand. I'm not misconstruing you. Misconstruing. And look, even Cindy, I agree. Username Tanya Wise. Her name was Tanya Wise. Rather than saying his mistress, we should say her name, Tanya Wise. I totally agree with that.
I do. I just have it off to the side, unless you wanted me to read it, or did you just want to ask me questions? However you want to do it is fine.
I'll just ask you some questions, but I'm going to kind of run through it topic by topic. If you want to refer to it, go ahead. Just let us know if you're doing it.
Okay.
I first want to address the title. It's a biopsychosocial report. What exactly does that mean?
Right. So biopsychosocial considers the biological, or what I do is I investigate biological factors, psychological factors, and social environmental factors that may have impacted a criminal defendant throughout their life.
And where do you derive the information that gets you to form your conclusions and write a report such as you have done?
Mostly it comes from interviews of the defendant, but also family, any family members, any friends, coaches, teachers, anybody that knows the defendant or remembers the defendant from a long time ago. Even if they haven't seen them in a long time, these are potential sources of information. Also records, things like jail records. If somebody has served a prison sentence previously, then I would request those sorts of records. So basically any kind of information, medical records that might yield some information on these biological, psychological, and social environmental factors.
So it's not overstating it to say that you're essentially trying to reconstruct, in this case, Jose's life from start to present moment.
No, I don't think that's an overstatement. But certainly there's a focus on these particular factors that may be relevant to someone's, to why.
Okay, I'm going to pause there just to say this. I'm going to rewind it just a second. I thought this was a still photo. I'm sorry. It was just a total squirrel moment for me. Y'all know how I am. But this one right here at the bottom, I thought it was a still like framed photo. And then I started seeing it move. I didn't know that was a real person. I thought it was like, you know, how like on YouTube, how a lot of people have like their picture up and it's just a square. I thought that's what it was. It kind of freaked me out.
That may be relevant to someone's, to why the person is in the situation that they're in today.
But you certainly cast a wide net as far as people that you might seek information from.
Correct.
You were you able to observe, whether on television or in person here in court, the testimony from Jose's family in the penalty phase?
I was in court, yes.
And those are all persons that you have met and conversed with before, yes?
Yes, we went to Connecticut and spoke with them.
Is there anything that you think is significant that did not come out in their testimony regarding Jose's prior history or family history that you would like the court to consider? And you can refer to your report if you wish.
Okay, I'm not referring to it yet, but I may just look through to make sure I didn't miss anything, because I neglected to mention I'm also a college professor, yet somehow when I'm testifying I get very nervous, so I apologize. So one of the things with Jose's mom, so if I take it in chronological order, Jose's mom was 14 years old when she met his dad, who was 20, right? And so they were in Bridgeport, Connecticut. This is criminal behavior. It was criminal behavior back then. on the part of Jose's dad. Mom winds up pregnant with a son that was not Jose. He had an older brother who only lived a few months. Dad, Concepcion Soto, when she got pregnant, they left the state of Connecticut. They went back to Puerto Rico. Well, not back, because she was always in Connecticut since she was a little girl, but he took her to Puerto Rico where his family was. She had the baby there, but they were in an area of Puerto Rico where there was no major hospital. She's a child herself. She has no car, no access to transportation, hardly any money, and the baby became sick. Dengue fever was an epidemic at that time, and that's what the baby contracted. And depending on who you ask, if you ask Jose's dad, he'll say that the baby was just sick and passed away. But of course, if from mom's side, he wouldn't take her and the baby to the hospital. His family was not very helpful, and the baby died at home in her arms. And by all accounts, she was very, very different after that. So she gives birth when she's 15. This happens when she's still 15. A few years later, she becomes pregnant with Jose. She's still young. She's 17. She gives birth to Jose at 18 and then makes her way back to Bridgeport, Connecticut.
With Jose?
With Jose, yes.
And he was just an infant at that time?
He was an infant, yes. Little less than a year.
And so did Concepcion, the father, return also to Connecticut?
He did at that time.
Did he stick around?
No, a short time after they separated, he was a bus driver in Connecticut. He didn't live very far. To hear him tell it, he had a wonderful relationship with Jose and Jose's younger sister. But the reality from multiple collateral interviews is quite different. It's that he was in town, but he was pretty much absentee. He had abandoned the family. So he was not somebody that the kids or Miss Carmen Escalera could count on.
And Concepcion had indicated to you earlier in the case his willingness to come and be a penalty phase witness. He backed out at the last moment, is that correct?
Yes, and we got two different reports. He told one member of the family that he had contracted COVID. He told another member of the family that he had a stroke.
What about alcohol or drug use in the family when Jose was growing up?
So Carmen, presumably to deal with the trauma of losing Jose's older brother and then having to be a single mom, and they came from meager means. There's no shame in that, but they really didn't have very much. And to deal with her pain, the trauma, whatever was going on with her, she began to drink heavily. And this was noted by her family, her sisters, Jose's cousins that were in court. And so she didn't take care of the kids, Jose and his sister. They were living in the same building. The family all lived in the same building. It was a close-knit family in that regard. But Jose was raised or living in his aunt's homes in the building.
What was the source of income? Who was working what jobs? Do you know?
I don't know everything, and I honestly don't know if Dad paid any kind of support. I don't think that he did. He may have provided something here or there, but I don't think he was on any sort of formal child support order.
Was Jose's family receiving public assistance?
Well, the housing that they were living in was definitely a housing project. So in that way, yes. But in terms of monthly checks, things like that, I don't know.
There is a a part of your report called transgenerational trauma. What does that mean, and how does it manifest in this case, please?
Well, so transgenerational trauma is something that the science supports, that it's passed down through the generations. So even though in this particular case, even though Jose was not yet born when his mother was a teenage mom, a very young teenage mom, and gave birth and then had the baby die at home, her trauma would pass down to him. And I'm not a biologist. I'm not that kind of scientist, so I don't want to overstep my area of expertise. But I will say, just from the psychological impacts of that science, it shows that this kind of trauma gets passed down biologically, that it actually has impacts on kids and their brain development, emotional development, and things that are, these would be a biological factor, but also a social environmental factor where, in this case, mom is having self-medicating and things like that.
Now, the testimony that was before the jury was that Jose left Bridgeport, I think around age 15 or 16, to come to Florida. Is that supported by your research?
Yes, about that age. He was very young.
There is a section of your report entitled Jose's Resilience. Tell us about that.
Right. So resilience, there's a whole body of literature on that too. Obviously, I'm talking about it from a psychological perspective. Resilience is our ability to manage situations and rebound and, come out on the other side okay. And so in Jose's case, throughout his life, he's had adversity, but he's managed to stay out of trouble as a kid, living in an area where people did not stay out of trouble. It was a very dangerous, very high crime. There's government documents on that, as a matter of fact, that I was able to find and read through. And he managed to make his way to Florida, not on his own. He came with a girlfriend's family at that time. And to hear the aunts tell it, this was a good thing for him, because then this way he's now a teenage boy. He's getting out of ground zero for getting into gangs and things that are going on there, things that he had managed to avoid up to that point. And so he comes to Florida, and his life, even though he's young and he doesn't have parents, he's at work. He didn't have his parents here with him, I meant to say, but he has work, and he has always maintained a strong work history, always manual labor positions, because he didn't have an education, a higher level of education. But Jose is also someone that's very much tries to make the best of situations that are beyond his control.
There is a section in your report, I'll confess I have some trepidation in questioning you about it, but I think it's relevant. It acknowledges the victim, in this case, Tanya and Josiah's loved ones, and they are identified as co-victims, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you develop a little bit, I don't know, I don't think it's your own work, maybe it is, but I think it's derived from studies. What can you tell us about the psychology of being a co-victim in this circumstance?
Well, it's not my science. You're correct. It's science that I'm citing. But I do have experience working with co-victims, particularly in homicide cases. And so what we know from the science, but also from practical experience, is that the court experience that is supposed to bring us as citizens, the truth and justice and vindication that we seek, right? If we're a victim of such a horrible crime like this. And what we find is that it actually has the opposite impact. The longer that someone is in contact, a co-victim, with the criminal justice system, the worse their mental health outcomes. So the more contact in court with prosecutors, with police officers, various things that happen around this process, and the longer that goes on, the lower the mental health functioning in terms of higher rates of depression, higher rates of anxiety, and a lot of trauma around that as well. So it's a system and a process that really, for lack of a better word, tortures victims, co-victims. I don't think that's the intent of the system, but it is the practical impact.
Right, thank you. Yes.
And just for those that are maybe new to the case, this lady right here in the center of your screen is Tanya's mom. This is her mother. She has been there from day one. Every hearing, every day, every moment she has been there. She has cried. She has had a hard time.
In your work on the case in the past 2 years, you have conversed with and interacted with Jose?
Yes.
There's a section, I think it's toward the end of your report, entitled Empathy for the Victims, Authentic Empathy for the Victims. What can you tell us about that, please?
Early on, Jose, when I first got on the case, Jose had mentioned, just in conversation, getting to know him, getting to know the case, getting to know his relationship with Ms. Wise. And, this is many years after this happened. He had stated something along the lines of, this is not a direct quote because it was many years ago and I don't remember the exact words, but it was something along the lines of him feeling, I asked him to describe Tanya, and he said, she was a nice person, that she didn't deserve this, and, that this was his child. He didn't know that at the time, of course, but finding that out hit him really hard. And that was unprompted. When I'm looking at those things, if I have to ask a defendant how they feel about it, and I do if they don't tell me, but in his case, I didn't really have to ask about that. And we never really talked about it again because we're talking about other things that are relevant to his biopsychosocial. And again, I guess it was a little more, it was before I wrote the report, as I was preparing the report. And, I was checking in on a legal visit because he had been in court. I wanted to, make sure he was okay after the death recommendation. And the first thing he said to me is, no one has asked me how I feel about what happened to Tanya and Josiah. So, these are the kinds of things that indicate genuine empathy. In that moment when he should be thinking about, or not that he should be, but that most people would be thinking about the consequences for themselves, he mentioned Miss Wise and baby Josiah.
Now, we haven't touched on every single specific item in your report. The judge has it to consider, and I'm sure that he will. The last item in your report is titled an executive summary. So why don't you tie everything together in summary form for us now, if you can?
Sure. Can I just take a look at that so I make sure I don't miss anything?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. I promise I won't read it because it's kind of long. But basically, there are a number of biopsychosocial factors that are relevant to Jose and his life existence. And those things are things like adverse childhood experiences, right? He had exposure to parental abandonment, his father leaving, maternal neglect and alcohol abuse in the home, inconsistent caregiving, exposure to trauma. He witnessed himself extreme violence in Bridgeport, including shootings and gang activity, but he also has the intergenerational trauma. Growing up in poverty, I don't think that that's necessarily something that predisposes someone to committing crimes, but we do know that in high poverty areas, there are higher crime rates. And Jose managed to avoid that, which is really notable. The family also dealt with a lot of discrimination and racism in Bridgeport, Connecticut, when Jose was growing up, and even when his mom was growing up. So this was kind of the social environment where they were living, but this is also a family who has really strong kinship bonds. And even if they don't.
Yeah, that might be a good plan, when, Cindy, on a Wednesday when we do a mental health. I haven't put anything back together for tonight. Yeah, you're right, Cash. It's for each individual to know, will or want. You know, I thought it would heal me, learning more about it and maybe hearing her side of the story. I've read through the documents myself to try to make sense of it, but it doesn't make sense. Yeah, so yeah, it's just, and I think, you know, like Cindy said, maybe on my Wednesday night streams, we might bring it up.
Don't see each other every day or talk to each other every day.
And I'm sorry, I'm listening to this lady talk, and she's talking about his past and his history and childhood and all that. That's fine and dandy. And your past and your history may affect who you are as a person, but you as a person can change that and make it better. And we know that from my Wednesday mental health streams. We know that. I've proven that time and time again on my Wednesday streams. You can change. I mean, but in instances like this, is there change possible? You have gone so far off the deep end that I don't see change as being an option. Journey says, but many of these cases don't make sense. Why is the word? Why? Yeah, exactly. Why do they do it? Because us normal people would never think of doing anything as harmful as this. So maybe that's my quest in understanding it and trying to figure out what it is that caused them to do this, or what mentally broke or emotionally broke that caused them to do this. I'm gonna hit play. I have to check my text message. Hubby's texting me.
Day, they do, they show up even if they were nervous, they weren't able to really articulate everything that they wanted to say, but they are generally very supportive of each other. And I think the authentic empathy is, to me, I don't always see that. I wish I could say that I did, but I don't. And in this case, it was really remarkable, especially the day.
Y'all know I don't usually check my phone when I'm streaming, but with me and my husband, I have to make sure he's okay because he's on his way to work. So
After the death recommendation, when Mr. Soto-Escalera, one of the first things that he said with a lot of emotion was that no one had asked him how he felt about what had happened to Miss Weiss and baby Josiah.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That's all I have for you.
Any questions from the state?
No questions.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Schwartz. And
Thank you.
any additional evidence from the defense?
Sir, wait. Jose's raising his hand. Y'all, wait. He's raising his hand. Okay, y'all, I haven't seen this. I've seen some shorts about the shit that went down, and it gets a little wild. But he's raising his hand, so
Thank you, Dr. Schwartz. And
Thank you.
any additional evidence from the defense?
Judge, may we go off the record for a second? I just
Sure.
need to have a brief
Sure.
comment.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
We'll
Judge.
take a brief recess, allow the defense to speak to their client.
hubby's kids, family, full stop. Everything ends. I have to pause. I will mute. I will put you on hold. When it comes to my man or my kid, when my phone rings, it's Rubber's peacing out on y'all for a few minutes. So they go on a break, a long break. Okay.
Time to confer with.
Okay. You don't think he'll get out of the death penalty? I don't think he will either. That I didn't think. I don't know. What all is said here or who speaks. Like I said, I hadn't watched any of it. Oh, Jose speaks from what it shows. Okay, so I just there's too much behind it. Too much crime behind it. It's too gruesome. I personally think that the judge will take the recommendation.
Mr. Soto-Escalera, any further evidence from the defense?
Well, Judge, I did have some commentary to make and some argument to make, however.
Right. But outside of argument?
No more. Well, Mr. Soto-Escalera wants to speak, Judge. I do believe.
Okay.
Oh, he looks pissed.
My client would like to address.
Okay, he may make a statement either under oath or not under oath at his choosing, allocution or otherwise.
He's allocating.
Okay, you may make a statement, Mr. Soto-Escalera, at this time. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. What I'm bringing to the courts to address is, I have a conflict of interest. Mr. Thomas Burns. So I was asking for your permission, if possible, if I can get him removed from my case because I don't trust him.
Mr. Soto-Escalera, trying to think of how to say this in a way that's most understandable. I think there's an expression, we're at the 11th hour. This is probably even beyond that. We're probably at 11:59 here. We're about to close all of the evidence in your case, which would be submitted to me with the jury's recommendation, whether you should receive the death penalty or life in prison. Counsel is...
I'm going to rewind it. TCN didn't hear, so we're going to rewind that and hear what he had to say. He said...
Execution or otherwise.
He's allocating.
Okay, you may make a statement, Mr. Soto-Escalera, at this time. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. What I'm bringing to the courts to address is, I have a conflict of interest. Mr. Thomas Burns. So I was asking for your permission, if possible, if I can get him removed from my case because I don't trust him.
He wants his lawyer removed from his case because he doesn't trust him. Sir, and the judge is telling him, you're at the 11.59 hour of this. Yeah. Hey, Cindy, I think you're right. Somebody in jail told him, try to get a new trial, appeal, something, and this is how you do it. Some jailhouse lawyers. Get out, sir.
Mr. Soto-Escalera, trying to think of how to say this in a way that's most understandable. I think there's an expression, we're at the 11th hour. This is probably even beyond that. We're probably at 11:59 here. We're about to close all of the evidence in your case, which would be submitted to me with the jury's recommendation, whether you should receive the death penalty or life in prison. Counsel has already done his job. They've already completed their work on the case. Really, at this point, all that's left for them to do is argue to me. So I don't believe there's really any purpose in that at this time. Even if I were to grant your request, there's nothing left for counsel to do at this time other than to make argument to me, which quite frankly could be persuasive, but given the judge's function, where we are, as I mentioned, 11:59 metaphorically, there's really not much purpose in that. So from counsel, since it does affect counsel, does counsel agree with my observation on that particular point? I'm going to inquire Mr. Soto-Escalera whether he wants to speak about the decision I have to make and give me input in that regard, because he has the right to do that. But that's separate and apart from what's being said now. Does counsel for the defense agree with my observation as far as, if this is a request to discharge counsel, where
Absolutely, Judge, and
the
that
horse is out of the barn at 11:59 p.m., I suppose would be the metaphorical.
correct. And as I explained to
The horse is out of the barn. Okay, that's a good one.
my client, I am not qualified to be on the case by myself because I'm only second share qualified. So Mr. Worth has to remain on the case to the duration.
Right, and just for the record, I haven't heard the arguments yet, but there's been a substantial amount of mitigation put before me, both at the trial and additionally here today, that I have to consider and digest. And does not seem to me that there's any reason for me to discharge counsel at this time. More importantly, before you brought that up, Mr. Soto-Escalera, you do have the right to make a statement at this time, either under oath or otherwise, that I would consider in making my determination in this sentencing proceeding. You understand you have that right to do that. And I was assuming that you were going to do that. I'm not saying whether you should or not. That's between you and your counsel. But I want to make sure that by me dismissing your conflict of interest issue, you don't take that as me dismissing your ability to make such a statement. Do you wish to make such a statement, or do you wish to talk to your counsel about whether you wish to do that at this time?
The only reason why I brought it up, Your Honor, is because something has surfaced with a witness and it was recorded in audio. This is why I'm requesting that I would have him removed. But if I can't remove him, I would like you to see what I'm speaking about so you can understand what I'm trying to say, if you have the time.
With regard to that, that would be a decision in this very important context for your attorneys to make, whether to submit that issue to me as far as potential mitigation. And I would, as I'm required to do, I would defer to their professional decision in that regard.
I think enough, Judge. I'm going to lay it all out on the record, okay? I think Mr. Soto.
Okay, I think this is where he loses his shit. I think this is where he loses is the lawyer's fixing to tell him off. Hold up. I've seen a little preview of this. No, you're running to DeWitt. Okay, yeah. And the horse is out the barn and he's running circles in the ring. So, look at the jaw lock on his face and that side eye. Look at the lady attorney. She's like, oh shit. It's fixing to go. Oh my God, here we go. Ready? I'm gonna hit play.
I think enough, Judge. I'm going to lay it all out on the record, okay? I think Mr. Soto-Escalera is hurting his situation. He's proceeding in ignorance on the advice of ignorant people. What he is referring to is a Zoom recorded deposition, the first such deposition I ever did in my life. We witnessed Lucinda Cook. This was done, I think, on a Tuesday when it was a court holiday, when we were in the midst of trial or jury selection. I'm not sure exactly where we were yet. And before Ms. Cook joined, there was a recording with chit-chat between me and Mr. Richardson about witnesses in the case, about the state of the case, about why I was calling witnesses and not calling witnesses, and complaining about somebody who had Ms. Minton's credit card and was going over the limits, and chit-chatting as counsel do between themselves, waiting for a witness. And I don't think people understand the context of how attorneys talk to each other. I think that the witnesses who overheard this, Ms. Lucinda Cook and whoever else she communicated with, think that because this is a capital murder case, me and Mr. Richardson should be like this, with our hands around each other's throats every moment. And we were not that way. We were chatting as counsel do in the case. And in a capital case especially, do counsel and adversaries have to communicate frequently and exhaustively to get the thing from start to finish done. That's all that it was. There is nothing in there that was inimical to Mr. Jose Soto-Escalera's defense, and I defy him or anyone else to point to any action or anything that I did or said at any point in the preparation of this case or in the trial or in the penalty phase that was contrary to his interest. It's nonsense and bullcrap, and that's what he's on about, Judge. So he can feel however he wants. He's an idiot. On this.
Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead. He can feel any way he wants. He's an idiot.
That was contrary to his interest. It's nonsense and bullcrap, and that's what he's on about, Judge. So he can feel however he wants. He's an idiot. On this issue, at least.
In that regard, for Mr. Soto-Escalera's benefited the people who are here observing this proceeding, regardless of the court's sentence.
Okay, stop. Let me say this. Let me make an apology. As comical as this shit may be, and I love to put comedy in the chaos, I actually feel extremely bad for Tanya's mom at this point. Sitting here in this Zoom hearing, she's on Zoom listening to all this. I feel so sorry for that lady to have to deal with the drama and trauma shit that this guy has layered on. And yeah, his horse needs to go back in the stable because it's all out now. Hey, vamos, how are you, hun? Yeah, I mean, it's at this point.
Decision whether I impose a life sentence or a death sentence. There are appeals that take place directly and then indirect appeals which relate to assistance of counsel, whether the defendant received proper assistance of counsel. That's for a different day. I could see this coming up perhaps in that scenario on the merits to be figured out at that time as appropriate, which goes back to what I said before. The evidence is in, mitigation has been placed before me. So we're at that stage where I'm to consider that. Put differently, if Mr. Soto-Escalera feels that Mr. Burns did not properly litigate his case for whatever reason, there will be a proceeding in that regard. But to be fair to Mr. Burns' respected counsel before the court, usually what has to be shown, or what would have to be shown, is something of substance, not just some idle remark we see from criminal defendants all the time, like, my attorney is working for the state, because look, they're smiling at each other and they're acting as professionals and not constantly cursing and berating each other and putting each other down. That's not the expectation of the court. In fact, we foster the opposite as professionals, that they get along, because once this case is over, they'll be on to a next case, and so will I. And so as professionals, they have to work with each other. But more importantly, as I mentioned at the outset, that is for another day. I'm directly focused on the extremely consequential and important decision I have to make, which goes back to whether Mr. Soto-Escalera wants to make a statement regarding himself, the case, for me to consider. He does not have to, and it's not going to affect him negatively if he doesn't, but he has that right to do that. So there again, we broached a different subject. I don't want him to think that I'm not going to listen to that, should he wish to listen to make that statement. On the other hand, I'm not sure he has an intent to do that anyway. He just wanted to broach this subject. Okay. Okay. All right. So it's not the first time I've had to tell a defendant or someone else. That's from
Said his piece. That gave him peace by saying that, ma'am.
Another day. There is a right to have a motion for post-conviction relief with regard to your Sixth Amendment right to counsel. That's for another day, really, regardless of my decision here. So other than that, that concludes the Spencer hearing evidence from the defense. Any evidence from the state before argument?
No evidence, sir.
All right, so let's start off with the argument of the state. If you wish to make a summary argument, but you don't have to. I mean, obviously, I'm familiar with my role here. I want to dissuade you from that, but you do both have the right to make argument to influence me in the way I evaluate the evidence.
Sure.
The way the aggravation and mitigation.
Yes, sir. I would just say that based on the extensive evidence that was adduced in the trial and the penalty phase, based on the findings, the aggravated factor findings of the jury, as well as the verdicts of the jury as a whole in the state request, that the court imposed 2 death sentences in this case on both counts. Thank you.
Thank you. In the defense, Mr. Burns.
Yes, I do have a few comments to make, Judge, in the nature of argument, some of them addressing aggravators and some just in general.
You know, how uncomfortable do you think he is getting up there and doing this right now? Or how comfortable is he getting up there and doing this right now, kind of giving him the middle finger? Here I am pleading the last of your case for you get the death penalty, asshole. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just speaking freely.
Well, one of the things that needs to be considered and proved is that there was heightened premeditation in this case. I think certainly there was evidence that this case was planned and thought about at least for some days before the actual killing occurred. I don't know how extensive or how important the court will consider the testimony of the witness who indicated that Jose was interested in ghost guns, I think a couple of weeks before the killing. I don't know whether that manifests as an expression of intent to do anything wrong. This was not a shooting or a gun crime. It did not arouse in the witness's mind at the time that there was anything nefarious going on. He thought that Jose might have been building a gun for sale. And so what we have here, the evidence in the case was that this was a pregnancy of many months duration that Jose objected to from the start, and yet there was no evidence of any kind of intent to do anything wrong until only a few days before the actual event. And so I would ask the court to consider that. On this next issue, again, I don't like to tread here, but these are just unsavory matters to begin with. Regarding the aggravator of child under 12, I certainly do not dispute that that aggravator is correctly found. I do offer for the court's consideration that the manifestation of that aggravator in this case is as mild as could be. I don't want to state it any more bluntly than that, but what we lost here and what we mourn here in Josiah, we lose and mourn speculatively. There's no personality that has been evinced.
I'm sorry. I hope I misunderstood what he just said. He's talking about the unborn child having no life and no personality, and that I have to rewind. I'm sorry. It's my channel. I'm going to rewind because I hope I misunderstood him.
That the manifestation of that aggravator in this case is as mild as could be. I don't want to state it any more bluntly than that, but what we lost here and what we mourn here in Josiah, we lose and mourn speculatively. There's no personality that has been evinced. And so I think that although that aggravator is properly found, it could be even more horrible. We have testimony from Brother Benask.
That just grinded my gears. It made my head hurt. I think all my screws just popped out of my neck. What? How?
So, relative to the court imposing a life sentence without the possibility of parole, which is what I'm asking for in regards to each victim. That Jose's been fined while he's been incarcerated for many years in the county jail, which is not designed for long-term incarceration. He would be a good prisoner. He has skills to offer. They work him hard in prison. Jose has skills to offer. I also want to ask the court to consider that the nature of persons who want to be executed should be such that Jose doesn't really fit the category. He has no prior criminal history whatsoever. This is a dramatic departure from nothing to a very horrible crime, but it is a crime of personal circumstances. It is not a crime of randomness. It is not a crime against strangers. It is not a crime where Jose indicates that he is some kind of danger to the community at large. It is a very particularized type of crime. Again, wildly at odds with his nature that we heard from his family and that we heard from Dr. Schwartz, and is evidenced in his lack of a
criminal record, which I think is really quite astounding. And finally, I think I would be remiss if I did not remind the court that although the recommendation is for death, it was as close a call as could be possible, and I would ask the court to consider that also in leaning towards life without possibility of parole for both counts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right? I heard that too. Like, what? He drove a garbage truck. Isn't that what he did? If I remember correctly, he drove a garbage truck. Sure, he could take out the trash. He could sweep. I mean, oh, and I know the lawyer is lawyering. He's doing what he has to do. But man, some of these terms and words they use just grosses me out.
Any response by the state?
No, sir.
In abundance of caution, let me ask a question to the state. And in part, this is just to avoid the appearance of this as with regard to the evidence that we glossed over anything. I have my own view of the evidence, and I'd certainly listen closely. I don't know that this was really fleshed out in argument before the jury, but with regard to the cold calculated, premeditated, aggravating factor, which was found by the jury beyond a reasonable doubt, is my perception of the evidence correct from the state's view in that it does appear that there was substantial planning fitting the definition? However, there was a variance between a lot of the planning and the actual way that the crime was committed, in the sense that there was a lot of talk of a gun, and then the murder occurred by different means, and which doesn't undo the aggravating factor, but it's something because I've never heard the state directly address that. I don't think the state directly addressed that with the jury, because it's kind of an aside, but just to cover every base, and because it was brought up by the defense, what is the state's view of the situation there with the evidence?
Yes, so the evidence, the way the evidence shook out was that there was a significant degree of planning in the days leading up to this, particularly beginning on August 21st of 2018. The defendant discussed using a firearm on multiple occasions, but the court is correct. At no time did the defendant ever discuss cutting her throat or hitting her in the head with a large blunt object, which was the ultimate cause of death in the case. So although there was much discussion, and I think he did go back and forth on the way he would kill her, I don't recall any specific statement regarding either cutting her throat or hitting her in the head with a large blunt object. He also did discuss using a second person, presumably a Colorado, but again, there's no evidence that was actually carried out.
And there was discussion, I have this in my notes, but just in abundance of caution, there was discussion between the defendant and Mr. Alvarado in the garbage truck about the location of where the crime would occur.
Yes.
The route, the garbage route.
Oh, yeah, in several different conversations.
Right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, particularly given what was brought up with regard to counsel and so forth, I do want to commend the attorneys for their fine work. And no one can do that better than me, because it's right now squarely before me. Let me tell you where I am in the case. This is one of those situations where, as a judge, you could try to put the case out of your mind as much as possible. But I've found doing this that even when you think you're doing that, you're still thinking of this case. And I've been constantly thinking about it. I'm far along in my analytical process. However, more has been put before me today, particularly fleshing out other suggested mitigation and a few others that are also new suggested mitigation. So I have that to shore up, but I do intend to finalize my decision and announce my decision this Friday, which is the 10th at 1:30. There's a chance that I'm not done by then, but I think I will be done by then. There again, I'm far along, and I appreciate the doctor's report. I will review it in exquisite detail and dissect it along with my notes to make the final decision in this case. Either way, the decision of the court must be in writing. So I will announce the decision on Friday at 1:30, and we'll see you then.
Yes, sir.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Go off the record.
You're always online, chasing the thrill in the dark corners where nightmares are real. Whispers and shadows, stories unfold, innocence lost in the secrets they hold. Reach out and touch cracks, leave the screen, step outside. Reach out and touch grass, feel the earth, feel alive. Sensational.
Sorry, guys.
The dramas you muse, capturing moments, the heartbreak you choose.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. It was a phone call from my doctor's office, and that was just not what I needed right now. Anyways, yeah, touch grass. Hey, Lois. Sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. Yeah, I don't know if y'all remember me talking about my rheumatologist passed away, and now they're telling me I have to wait till February in order to see a new doctor to get my medication refilled for my ankylosing spondylitis, my fibromyalgia, and my Ehlers-Danlos. So I'm fixing to have a meltdown. So I really need to go back to streaming right now and get them out of my head because it's a lot to deal with. Losing a doctor that you've been seeing for 20 years. 20 years I've seen this doctor, and for her, I mean, you know, it happens. You know, unfortunately, she died of brain cancer. I did not know until yesterday morning when I went in the app to refill my meds, and now that's them calling me, telling me that they can't give me medicine until February. So, breathe. Okay, so we're going to pivot over to Huston Danker. Huston Danker was part of Karina Cooper debacle that took out Karina's husband. She was, I'm going to hit play on this, and this kind of goes over the text messages between Karina Cooper and Huston Danker, and then we will get into his sentencing.
That conversation ended at 3:32:58, and what was the next event that you noted in your timeline?
Yeah, that is at 4:13 when that live photo was viewed.
And that was on Karina Cooper's phone, correct?
Yes.
And what did you note next?
At 4:18 in the morning, there was 2 deleted photos.
And the next activity you noted on the phone that you included in your timeline?
Those were the steps taken between 4:23 and 4:33 a.m.
We heard previous testimony that Karina Cooper called Aaron Cooper at 4:30 a.m. Were you able to verify that information by examining the phone?
I was.
And how did you verify that information?
Yeah, so at 4:30, that is when the call came out from Karina's phone to Aaron Cooper. That is also located on the U.S. cellular records.
All right, so then the next thing you noted here, you have 3 separate entries. What are those? At 4:31, again at 4:31, and 4:33.
Yeah, those are calls from Aaron Cooper to Karina Cooper.
And the length of those phone calls then, and this is looks to be more or less immediately following the phone call to Aaron Cooper, 1 second unanswered and 23 seconds?
Yes.
And then what's this next piece of information at 4:33:43?
Yeah, that is when Karina Cooper's cell phone called 911.
And what's this that we see at 4:34:44?
That's when Aaron Cooper called 911.
And at 4:39 a.m.?
That's when Aaron Cooper arrived at the address of 1846 K Ave.
All right. And 4:42 a.m.?
That is when the first deputy arrived at that address.
That's okay. At Huston Danker's search history on his iPhone 7.
I did.
Showing you the next slide. It looks like we have an icon here for Google. It says Google search history. Could you explain what you were looking for and how you completed that search?
Yeah, so for on the phones, I narrowed it down to the time that the incident occurred, and I located some search history. And then after that, I got rid of the timeline, and it located some other history that was also around the same time that doesn't necessarily have a timestamp.
And it may be fairly obvious to some people, but perhaps not everyone. Can you explain what a Google search history is?
Yeah, so what Google search history is basically an index of a whole bunch of different sites. So when you go to search something, it tries to pull what it thinks you are searching for, the most accurate thing.
And again, perhaps fairly obvious, but these searches are completed typically manually or input by a user. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you just included the results of that search that you did in attempting to locate the searches that Huston Danker had completed here on this next slide.
Yes.
What is you could just go through a couple of the results that you found.
Yeah, how to kill somebody with antifreeze, best way to kill somebody with no way for anybody to find out who did it, how to save snaps without them knowing. And then the SS on here is how to screenshot on Snap without them knowing 2021. And that was searched on February 16th, 2021.
And some additional history that you located.
So this was on May 11th, 2021 at 9:20 p.m. Is sodium sulfate, is it deadly? This is on May 22nd, 2021 at 8:32 p.m. I might sound strong, but diphenhydramine versus bromethylene. This is the same date and time, a little bit later, at diphenhydramine, does it kill humans? Again, on May 22nd, this is now at 9:17 p.m. the black market. This is 6/18/2021 at 5 p.m. Old open Snapchats be found again after being seen in the state of Iowa.
And what's the date of that particular search?
Yeah, that one is June 18th, 2021 at 5 p.m.
And so again, that's the date of Ryan's death, correct?
Yes. This is again on June 18th.
And this lady on the screen is Karina Cooper, because this is her trial, because Huston Danker chose to plead guilty and did not go with a trial.
6:17 p.m. Our Snapchats encrypted. This one's on July 1st, 2021 at 10:26 p.m. Where do murderers go to prison? This is July 2nd, 2021 at 10:29 p.m. Minimum security prisons in Iowa. This is again on July 2nd at 10:30 p.m. High security prisons.
I'm going to move forward here to the next slide looks like, or excuse me, the next line on your slide is July 3rd. What does this one say?
How long does it take to go through data forensics?
And the 10th?
Leavenworth Prison.
Isn't it interesting the things that he Googled? You know, your Google search history can get you in some big trouble. You know, if you admit to being guilty of a murder, people don't Google bad shit. How to permanently delete Snapchat data. And if I remember correctly, it was the Snapchat data that pretty much sealed the fate in this case.
And July 16th.
How to permanently delete Snapchat data.
So this is approximately 1 month after Ryan's death, is that correct?
Yes.
And now from November of 2021.
Does your Snapchat location turn off when you log out?
Did you find then some additional searches related to Snapchat and the functioning of Snapchat?
I did. Can messages be accidentally sent to somebody else on Snapchat? Can the feds pull Snapchats back up? Can data forensics retrieve old Snapchat conversations from an iPhone? Can old opened Snapchats be found again after being seen in the state of Iowa? Does Snapchat save every message and picture I send, even if opened? What is received with a search warrant sent to Snapchat? Can a state investigator read through old Snapchat conversations? Snapchat saved messages. Can data forensics pull Snapchats up? What is Snapchat able to give to feds? What kind of conversations can data forensics pull back up? Even after a snap is already opened, can you use data forensics to see what the Snapchat was? Can I recover photos I deleted from my recently deleted album? Will deleting your Snapchat delete the VATs, which is dates? What's Snapchat cache? Are Snapchat messages encrypted? If you delete your Snapchat, can data forensics pick up anything from it? If I deleted pictures from my iPhone, can I still bring them back? They have opened my Snapchat, but their last seen time hasn't updated or location. If you log out of your Snapchat and log back in, does it show your location in the same spot, but turn it off? If you shut your location off, does it keep you in the same spot for 8 hours on Snapchat? Is Snapchat messages encrypted?
Moving on to some additional search history that you located.
Imagine Googling all this. What? Look at Evamos. Evamos is yes to all of it. Cindy says, oh my God, my Google search would confuse police and whether I'm a killer, a gardener, a chef, a crafter, or running for office in my town or building my nonprofit. Girl, let me tell you, I just for shits and giggles, guys, I'm going to pull up my Google search history. Oh my gosh. Darriynn Brown, Jose Soto-Escalera, prosecutor and attorney Earl case. Orninda Romulus, 31. Arlene Alvarez, Brazoria County Court records. Mississippi or Missouri or MI, whatever MI, versus Carlos Hernandez and Joshua Zazu. Huston Danker sentence. Tanya Wise news story. Cash Gernon. ESPN. Look, I have ESPN in there. Houston Chronicle. ABC 13. Bitch of Buchenwald documentary. How many bodies were pulled from a bayou in Houston 2024? How many Houston deaths are in 2025? Lady Bird Lake deaths. Y'all, I would be so fucked. We would all of us true crime people, we would all be in so much trouble if they pulled up our search history. Okay, we're going to finish out listening to his Google search history stuff, and then we're going to go to his sentencing.
You separated these out, it looks like, into 4 separate segments. Did you find then Google searches related to poisoning?
I did. What is the best way to poison somebody quickly? Is chloroform traceable? Cyanide. Sodium cyanide. Diphenol. Where to find arsenic?
And moving on to the area that you've deemed killing or searches related to killing, what did you find?
I don't remember.
Yes. What's the best gun to use to kill somebody?
What is the best gun?
How do people get caught?
Sir, he asked, what is the best gun to kill some... What? What kind of question is that, y'all? This is my rheumatology office calling me again, and I don't even know. I'm gonna hit play on this, and I'm gonna answer this, guys.
For shooting. How to positively get away with murder. The best way to kill somebody with no evidence. How much does it pay to dig a grave?
There were a couple searches related to locating a lawyer. What's this final one marked to date?
Father's Day 2021.
Did you attempt to locate search history then for Karina Cooper?
I did.
See what appears to be the Safari icon. Can you explain what Safari is?
Yeah, that's the built-in search engine for iPhones.
And so this is information that you're taking from her iPhone that you referenced previously?
Yes.
Were you able to locate relevant search history for Karina Cooper?
I was, but not between these dates.
All right. So it says gap in Safari search history from February 13, 2021 to June 1st, 2021. What does that mean?
It means there was no search history between those dates. Like I mentioned before, the pattern of life.
Okay, I'm muted, guys. Somebody scream at me. You're muted. Put some sirens in the chat or something. I'm over here just talking. Got off the phone with that rheumatology office, and they wanted to know if I wanted to make an appointment. They're like, we got your referral. Do you want to make I said, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, not if you can't see me till February. No, thank you. Goodbye. And I hung up on her. Okay, so we're going to read Cindy's real quick. Cindy's searches are Whopper Wednesday, Lily and Jack Sullivan, WPEC 12, which I'm assuming is her local news channel, Emmanuel Haro, Words with Letters. Letters are hard for us some days, right, Cindy? Oh my God. Which serial killers stalk their victims? David, which is the one that's with the Celeste Rivera's thing right now. Seacoast Utilities, Chrysalis Health, How long to make rock candy from scratch? And the weather with her zip code. Oh my goodness. You go, girl. You're just as crazy as me. I mean, that's from your phone. Now, see, that was what I read from my phone. I'm not even going to try to look what's on my computer. Not even going to try. All right. So with that, we're going to jump over here to Huston Danker sentencing. And I'm sure everybody who has watched any of my streams remember the handsome judge from the Karina Cooper trial. So with that, we're going to hit play. I'm going to move those words up here. Oh, that was fun, Cindy. That was a good sidebar. I appreciate that.
Morning by Assistant Attorney Generals Israel Koyaga and Michael Ringel, and Assistant Tama County Attorney Geneva Williams. Mr. Danker is here this morning along with his attorney Leon Speaks. On August 12th of this year, Mr. Danker entered a plea of guilty to the offense of murder in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code Section 701.7 and 707.2, Parent 1, Parent A, Class A felony. Today is the date that was set for judgment and sentence. Let me ask you, Mr. Koyaga, is there any legal cause at this point to be shown why judgment and sentence should not now be had?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Steve, let me ask you the same question.
There's none.
And I didn't see anything in the file, but has there been any sort of motion to arrest or judgment filed in this case?
There is not.
All right, then, Mr. Koyaga, does the state wish to be heard? Do you wish to be heard on behalf of Mr. Day?
I will be brief. At times like this, the words by the counsel are hollow. This was a tragedy of unimaginable proportions, especially in a small community like this where everybody knows everybody. Huston Danker was blinded, both emotionally and spiritually and morally. It led him to aid and abet Karina Cooper in the murder of him. But Huston Danker is not a man without word. He's not a man without promise. He pledges to his family
and to his community, that he will take advantage of his isolation to improve himself, improve his aspects and prospects for being a good citizen. There's more than enough greed to go around, and what every crime has ripple effects. This has cataclysmic effects for families and communities, and Huston Danker pledges to the best of his ability to correct the damage that's been done.
Thank you, Mr. Spees. Mr. Danker, Iowa law requires, sir, that I give you an opportunity to address me before I render judgment in your case. There is no requirement that you say anything, but if you do have anything you would like to say, this is your opportunity. So anything you'd like to say, Mr. Danker?
No thanks.
All right.
That's the first time I've heard him actually speak. He said, no thanks. Okay. And the in the background is not me. I don't know. That's like court reporter or something talking into her little elephant muzzle or whatever. I hear it.
Mr. Kodiak, I understand there are potentially 3 victim impact statements today. Prior to going on the record, I had a chance to meet briefly with the council, and we discussed who the potential statements would be from. And my understanding, Mr. Spees, there's no objection to any of the folks who are proposed to be victim impact statements. Is that correct?
It is, Your Honor, yes.
All right. So, Mr. Kodiak.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, there are 3 victim impact statements. The state will call for the first victim impact statement, which will be read by Ryan Cooper's sister, Michelle Wilson.
Morning, Ms. Wilson. Go and have a seat. And Ms. Wilson, you can move that microphone a little bit, I think, but we don't swear you in or anything like that. I am going to ask, however, that you please just give us your first and last name and spell them so we have clear who's here for the record.
Sure. Michelle Wilson, MICHELLEWILSON.
All right, Ms. Wilson, whenever you're ready, you may go ahead with your statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Here we are, back in the same courtroom to sentence another psychopath.
Look, I was right. I was right. You see Miss Elephant Muzzle? That's what we're hearing. That's what we're hearing. That's what I'm hearing. See, I knew I was hearing it. She's repeating everything into her muzzle.
For the first-degree murder of my brother, Ryan Cooper. Preparing and presenting a second victim impact statement for the murder of a loved one is unjust. Not only did one of these psychopaths have a demented, vile, and evil mind, but they both contributed to the planning and execution of my brother's murder. At no point did either of the 2 accomplices consider their plan to be unconscionable, immoral, unprincipled, or evil. No, their plan to murder my brother was just an item on their checklist, just an agenda item on their way to building a dream life together. A sick, disgusting plan to achieve their dreams, but what about my brother's dreams? Ryan dreamed of being a farmer every day of his life. Ryan dreamed of being a farmer like his dad, his grandfather, and his great-grandfather. I was 10 years older than Ryan and remember so much about him as a young boy on the farm. I remember numerous times he would stand at the front door watching the tractors and equipment roll in and out of our farm, just hoping one would stop, open the door, and motion for him to come out and hop in. As Ryan approached his teenage years, he could not get home from school fast enough during planting and harvest season, knowing there was a seat waiting for him in one of the tractors. After high school, Ryan went straight to working on the farm, He had followed Dad and Grandpa around for years, and now it was time to use the knowledge and skills he had taken in and continue on in the family legacy. Ryan obtained his CDL to be able to haul grain and livestock. He continued to learn more about the cattle business by feeding and caring for cattle at the family feedlot alongside Dad and Grandpa. He also attended cattle sales with Dad to learn about buying and selling livestock. Farming was not a job for him. It was a career, a family legacy, and he loved every minute of it. Ryan also dreamed of being a father. He first became a father at the age of 24. His firstborn was a son, and he was the proudest father. After divorce and a couple years of being single, he shared with me once how concerned he was that he would never have any more children. He was afraid he was getting too old. He was still in his 20s at the time. We were a decade apart in age and lived over half a state away from each other, so we did not see each other or talk that often. But I remember each of the phone calls I received from Ryan over the next couple years. Each of the 3 calls he made to me to tell me he was going to be a dad. And each of the 3 phone calls to announce their births. You could see his enormous grin and the sparkle in his eyes through the tone of his voice on the other end of the line. Ryan spent his years as a dad loving his children unconditionally, being a great role model and teaching them right from wrong. He loved showing the kids around the farm, teaching them about life and farm life, sharing his hobbies with them, and giving them a fun and safe home to grow up in. Ryan took his role as a dad just as seriously as his career on the farm. Aside from his dreams, Ryan was a quiet man. He preferred to stay in the shadows. He was generous and a well-respected member of the community. He would give the shirt off his back and more to anyone in need. No one had to ask, he just showed up. Ryan didn't do things for attention. Ryan did things to be a good human. Ryan's dream was to make a career and a life for himself and his family on the farm. Ryan's dream was to have a family, a home full of kids to love and to care for, to watch his children grow up and his children's children grow up. What Ryan wanted most for his children was for them to understand that showing love and compassion for others was being a good human, that working hard was honorable and rewarding. Those were Ryan's dreams. What was your dream? Was it your dream to have Ryan's life? You would murder him and assume his place in his family? To take over his dream and the life he had worked so hard for? You had 2 beautiful children. Why did you need Ryan's life? Was your dream to be like Ryan? To be kind and compassionate, hardworking and honorable? You would murder him and then swoop in to make it look like you're a savior to a family who had lost their father in this unimaginable tragedy. Did you really think you could be like Ryan? No, I think your dream is more disgusting than that. You honestly thought you could murder someone and get away with it, but that isn't how the dream was supposed to, but this isn't how the dream was supposed to end. Your dream didn't end like this, here in this courtroom. Did it? I don't know you. In fact, today is the first I've ever seen you. But what I know of you, you believed you could do anything and get away with it. I think you're a psychopath, just like your accomplice. You couldn't appreciate the life you had. You wanted someone else's. You wanted Ryan's life. You wanted Ryan's dream. Ryan was sentenced to death by this murderer. Those of us left on earth were sentenced to life without Ryan. There's no sentence for this murderer that will achieve justice here. But the sentence this murderer receives today will ensure that he will never live his dream or anyone else's dream for the rest of his pathetic life. If she just would have remembered those casings, those fucking casings. Or if he had just known how to make his Google searches private. So many mistakes.
But you know what? It's good that he was not smart enough to do all this, ma'am. I mean, I understand her upset and her everything. But you know what? The fact that he had all this nailed him.
If only they had known. But those are the things you learn when you kill somebody. Something else you might not know, when you get to prison and start sharing your stories, I would think it's best not to refer to yourself as anyone's gay best friend. Now, go.
That was another thing is he had said that he was her kind of like a gay best friend, that they weren't lovers or anything like that, is the way he had put it at first. And that got him in trouble.
To hell.
And what? She said he can go to hell?
Go to hell.
Thank you.
The second.
Okay, and there's an undisclosed minor, says not shown, and they're not going to let the voice be heard either. So you back up to where they changed.
The family, that would be the last victim statement.
All right. All right, then at this time, Mr. Danker is adjudicated to be guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code Section 701.7 and 707.2, Parent 1, Parent A, and the judgment is entered accordingly. Mr. Danker is sentenced to be confined for the remainder of his natural life without the possibility of parole. His custody is placed with the Director of the Division of Adult Corrections, temporary custody with the county sheriff. Mr. Danker is ordered to pay victim restitution to the estate of Ryan Cooper in the amount of $150,000 as required by Iowa Code Section 910.3B, Parent 1, and restitution in the amount of $14,944.78 to the Crime Victim Compensation Program. And just for the record, Mr. Steve, my understanding is there's no objection to those amounts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Danker shall also make restitution for court costs in the amount established by the court. Mr. Danker did file an affidavit, financial affidavit with respect to category B. My understanding is, I've reviewed that understanding. I reviewed that affidavit. My understanding is the state has no objection to me making a determination based on my review of that affidavit as to Mr. Danker's ability to pay category B restitution. Is that correct, Mr. Kodiaga?
Yes, sir.
Based on my review of that affidavit, I will waive payment of category B restitution for Mr. Danker. As required by Chapter 81 of the Iowa Criminal Code, Mr. Danker shall provide a DNA sample to the Department of Correctional Services for purposes of DNA profiling. Pursuant to Iowa Code Section 811.1, I know appeal bond is permitted in this case. As far as the reasons for my sentence are concerned, the sentence imposed is mandatory and the court has no discretion to impose anything else. Mr. Danker, I do give you some credit for your guilty plea and taking some responsibility for your actions in connection with the senseless murder of Ryan Cooper. Whether you admitted your full involvement in exactly who shot Ryan Cooper, we may never know. I also hope that you have the opportunity to demonstrate your worth as indicated by Mr. Spees moving forward. But all that said, your guilty plea does not atone for Mr. Cooper's senseless murder, which has impacted so many people, as you've heard here today from the victim impact statements that have been given. You'll have plenty of time to think about that, ponder that with your sentence. Mr. Danker, I need to let you know that you have a right to appeal this case to the Iowa Supreme Court. If you're unable to pay the costs associated with the appeal, you have the right to apply to the court for appointment of counsel and furnishing any necessary transcripts. All is provided for by Iowa Criminal Code Chapter 814. If you do want to appeal, you have to effect your appeal by filing a written notice of appeal to the Tama County Clerk of Court within 30 days of today. Perfection of your appeal in that matter is a jurisdictional requirement. Failure to comply with the provisions in Iowa Criminal Code Chapter 814 will preclude you from your right to pursue an appeal. If you do want to appeal, you have to have a copy of notice of appeal served on or delivered to the Iowa Attorney General's office. Is there any further record that needs to be made today that you're aware of, Mr. Karina?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Spees? One I might want to address, there was a pending motion related to some seized property. My understanding is that the state will be resisting that. I'm going to ask order that the state file a written resistance, if any, by the end of next week. And then we'll address that as necessary following filing that resistance. All right. With that, since I had that in further, Mr. Spees? All right, then we are adjourned.
Okay, so they gave him life in prison. And y'all have to excuse me. I'm over here. Ever since I got an iron infusion, got my set of 8 infusions, every time I bump myself, I bleed profusely. And I looked down and looked like a crime scene all over my notebook that I write in. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? So I'm over here cleaning myself. It just happens. Okay. So we're going to pivot. I do have something new that I want to play. I just put it together. Let's see if it's in here. It is in here. It is in here.
You know how sometimes you just get that feeling like these people ain't normal? It's just like that kind of, just that sense, just that something was off. You know how sometimes you just get that feeling like these people ain't normal? It's just like that kind of, just that sense, just that something was off. You know how
something was off. Something was off. Them people ain't normal. They ain't like us. They ain't like us. So this is the story of Cash Gernon. Cash Gernon, in Texas, words are hard, Sheila. Darriynn Brown is a Texas man who pled guilty to the 2021 murder of 4-year-old Cash Gernon. And he was sentenced to life in prison. In May of 2021, surveillance video showed Brown, he was then 18, taking the sleeping boy from his bed in Dallas. The child's body was discovered hours later on a residential street with multiple stab wounds. Police found items belonging to Brown, including a hoodie and sunglasses that had the child's blood on him. Because of his mental health, the trial was repeatedly delayed due to concerns about Brown's mental competency. He was initially ruled incompetent to stand trial in 2022, but was later declared competent in January 2025 after receiving treatments. Brown ended up pleading guilty to first-degree murder on the day his capital murder trial was set to begin. And they are saying that this plea deal spared him from a possible death sentence. So we'll watch a quick recap of who Darriynn Brown is. And I believe in here they actually have a short video of the kidnapping from the bed. So this is just a quick review, and then we'll watch the sentencing. It's only a few minutes.
Charged with murdering a 4-year-old Dallas boy after taking that sleeping child from his bed will not stand trial anytime soon. Hello?
Now, this
Oh,
was.
I'm Steve Eager.
And I'm Heather Hayes. Darriynn Brown was declared incompetent.
Stop. Let me just stop. This was the reason I chose this one is because it does have the video of the actual taking him from the bed in it, and it just kind of gives you a breakdown. And this actual news story was from when the incident had just happened, and he was not competent to stand trial. As we know, that changed.
For trial, police say Brown kidnapped 4-year-old Cash Gernon and repeatedly stabbed him. The boy's body was found on a neighborhood street. Fox 4's Alex Boyer takes us to the latest in this case. Alex.
Hi, guys. And this is the decision that his defense team was really hoping for. They maintained that Brown was hallucinating and in a trance-like state at the time of the murder and also suffers from other major depressive orders. Well, the prosecution brought in its own medical expert who also concluded that Brown is incompetent to stand trial. Inside this Dallas County courtroom Friday, a magistrate declared capital murder suspect Darriynn Brown incompetent to stand trial.
He can finally, now get the help that he needs so that he can assist us in his representation.
Heath Harris and Valerie Baston are Brown's defense attorneys. Brown was arrested last May and later indicted for the murder of 4-year-old Cash Gernon. Investigators said Brown was the man seen on home surveillance video taking Gernon from the bedroom where he was sleeping. Gernon was in the care of a woman who lived in a home off Saddle Ridge Drive in Dallas. She knew Brown. Gernon's body was found by a jogger 8 blocks away from the home on a neighborhood street the next morning. Investigators said the boy was stabbed to death.
Maybe someday we can, get to the facts of this case, which we believe are going to show that he does have a mental defect that potentially may have led to this tragedy, and that he may be entitled to an insanity defense.
The competency decision was made after the prosecution's own psychiatric expert determined after conducting a mental evaluation that Brown was unfit to stand trial. The defense's doctor came to the same conclusion months ago.
Both reports basically reflect what Mr. Harris and I have been experiencing with our client, Darriynn, that he is not competent and that he needs to get treatment.
Harris says Brown will likely be transferred to Vernon Psychiatric Hospital once a bed opens up.
Our society has rules regarding competency.
Dr. Robert Sanders is a former prosecutor and defense attorney. Sanders says it's possible Brown will never be deemed competent to stand trial. If he is, and the defense does indeed raise an insanity defense, the prosecution will have the burden to prove Brown knew that his actions were wrong.
In order for that insanity defense to work, he's got to be insane at the time of the act.
Brown's defense team knows the public wants answers.
We ask people to be patient in forming their opinions or their judgment about this.
And I contacted the district attorney's office.
Okay, so that kind of gives you a glimpse of it, and the actual video, we got to see that he was let's see.
Signed language and
Rewind it. Okay.
7598.
So here we go with, this is Darriynn Brown.
87, styled the state of Texas versus Darriynn Ronell Brown. Is that your name, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a United States citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
You're charged by indictment with the offense of capital murder. The state has filed a motion asking that I strike certain language and reduce this case to a first-degree felony of murder, which I granted. That makes your range of punishment anywhere between 5 years up to 99 years or life in prison. Do you understand the offense you're charged with and the range of punishment you now face?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you read, did your attorney explain, and did you understand everything you signed today in connection with this case, including the court's written admonishments regarding your statutory and constitutional rights and the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have an absolute right to a jury trial, which we are set for today, but it is my understanding that you want to waive and give up that right today to enter a plea of guilty. Is that in fact what you want to do?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you doing so, waiving your right to a jury trial, both knowingly and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may arraign your client.
Judge Will waive reading of the indictment and enter a plea of guilty to the lesser included offense of murder, Your Honor.
Your attorney has pled guilty on your behalf to the lesser included offense. Is that in fact your plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty and for no other reason?
Yes, Your Honor.
State.
State Upper States Exhibit 1, defendant's signed written voluntary judicial confession and stipulation of evidence, and States Exhibit 2, the Michael Moore paperwork.
No objection, Your Honor.
As opposed to offering States Exhibits 1 and 2, do you want the court to take judicial notice of them?
We do.
Any objection from the defense?
No objection, Your Honor.
The court will take notice. State rest.
Defense also rests and closed, Judge.
Do you believe your client is mentally competent?
I do, Your Honor.
And is there any reason in law that he cannot now be sentenced?
There is not. Judge, just out of abundance of caution, I just want to make sure I want to call him briefly just for an admonishment on the plea itself.
That is fine. Mr. Brown, if you could raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can put your hand down. Proceed when you're ready, Mr.
Thank you, Judge. Now, Darriynn, you understand that we're in trial today, right?
Yes.
And initially, we had planned to go forward on the insanity defense, right?
Yes.
We really believed that we could win on the insanity defense, right?
Yes.
But after looking at some of the evidence, some of the other doctors' reports and things of that nature, you decided that you wanted to accept responsibility and plead guilty to murder. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you understand we could still go to trial, right?
Yes.
But that's not what you want to do.
That's not what I want to do.
Okay. And again, this is a decision that we talked about, and this is how you want to handle your case.
Yes.
All right. That's all I have, Judge.
Then the court will accept your plea of guilty, and I find you guilty of the first-degree felony offense of murder as included in the indictment. It is hereby the order, judgment, and decree of this court that you be taken by the Dallas County Sheriff and safely there held until your transfer to the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, where you will serve a life sentence. That sentence is imposed to begin today, but you will get credit for your back time, and the court will make an affirmative finding in this case of a deadly weapon, to it a knife. Is that the plea agreement as you understood it?
Yes.
Because I followed your plea agreement, you have effectively waived your right of appeal, and the court has received a copy of the trial court certification regarding your right of appeal. It bears your signature, indicating you went over it with your attorney. So that will conclude these proceedings. We are off the record, and we're prepared for victim impact at this time.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. You may be seated,
Just
Mr.
have a
Brown.
seat.
We have 3, Your Honor. Proceed when you're ready, State.
I will pause to say this. Breathe, Sheila. Mental health is real. Mental health is real. And I find this very hard with the mental health aspect of it. It's very emotional to me. It's very hard for me with the mental health aspect of this. So these impact statements are going to be rough too. I just want y'all to know I'm very emotional about this, so I apologize.
This is from Patty Seagroves, who is currently the grandmother and custodian to the remaining twin, Carter Gernon. This message is for Darriynn Brown. We were asked to write a victim impact statement so that we, the family, could explain how what you did has affected us, how it has affected the children, Carter, Abigail, and Ashlyn, his incredibly strong siblings. First of all, I just want to say that I hope that you seek God while you're in prison, because you need him worse than anyone I've ever known in my life. You need to truly seek forgiveness from him, because whether or not the family forgives you doesn't matter, but God's forgiveness does. He will be the one to determine where your soul ends up. There are no words to describe the pain that you have brought onto our family. Cash's brother has suffered unimaginable pain, as we all have, a pain that no one should ever have to feel, especially at 4 years old. You have caused him, Carter, an agonizing hurt that will never go away. He longs to have his brother here to play with, to experience life with. He was very close with his twin brother. They never got to experience the first day of kindergarten together because you took Cash's life before he was ever able to even step foot in a school. Because of you, he'll never know what it's like to have a girlfriend or drive a car for the first time or graduate high school or college. He'll never get to know what it's like to get married to the girl of his dreams or have a beautiful child to carry on his legacy. Instead, all there is a memory of what a beautiful, loving, funny little boy he was. And that's something you won't ever take away. Every single day, I imagine what Cash would look like and what it would be like for his brother to have him here. We suffer from your disgusting, hateful, and forward act of violence every single day. Again, the pain of what you did won't ever go away, and if I had it my way, you would never see the light of day again. You would suffer the same fate that you have brought on Cash. Your mother, who you have also victimized in this, would have to feel the exact same pain that we're feeling, but I'm not the judge in all of this. I'm just an extended victim. Just know you didn't kill Cash because, while he may not be here physically, he will live in our hearts forever. He will forever live in a place that you probably won't ever get to see. And when you tell your mom that you love her at the end of your video calls, please remember that Cash won't ever get to say I love you to his mom again. The pain of losing her child has been so unbearable that she can barely function, if you even want to call it functioning. You have destroyed her. Your victim list is very long because there are so many people that love Cash. God says that his vengeance is his, and I don't think he'll be letting you get away with what you did. His punishment will be far worse than anything we can dish out to you, and I hope you hear the name Cash ring out every day in your head, and it haunts you for the rest of your natural life. I hope you never get to leave prison unless it's in a body bag, and I hope you rot in there. It is with great sorrow that I stand before this honorable court today, prepared to address the monster that has single-handedly altered the course of so many lives. My name is Trevor Gernon, the father of Cash Gernon and the victim of your heinous...
I'm going to pause to say this. He may be deemed mentally competent right now. And this is, I feel so awful even saying this out loud, but is he able to comprehend what these people are saying to him? These hurtful things? Yes, he did bad things. It's not a pass for committing a crime. It's not a pass for committing a crime at all. And medicated, under the right care, under the right supervision, understanding, I don't understand how it came to this. And is he actually understanding what is coming out of these people's mouths and what they're wishing on him? I don't know that he understands the gravity of it. And I think that's what bothers me a lot. Yeah, he's medicated, may not really understand. You're right, Cindy. Just the look on his face is like, I'm here physically present. Physically present.
Cowardly act. My name is to address the monster that has single-handedly altered the course of so many lives. My name is Trevor Gernon, the father of Cash Gernon and the victim of your heinous cowardly act. What I hope to achieve by making this statement is twofold. First, that you will recognize my son, Cash Gernon, as a person, a human being, loved, valued, innocent, and not an item to be discarded. Second, I want to brand your memory with the name of my son, Cash Gernon, so you never forget he gave his life to ensure that you will never again have the opportunity to victimize another innocent member of society. What I'm forced to do today, no parent should have to do, but you defiled the sanctity of our family. And as a father, I'm obligated to advocate for my son, Cash Gernon, so I stand prepared to be his voice and zealously defend his memory. My son, Cash Gernon, was the apple of my eye. He was my legacy, the continuation of the Gernon line, which you have shattered. Your cowardly act has reduced me to a fraction of my former self, and all that remains is a hollow shell of a man fueled by the guilt of failing to protect my child. This statement is my son's defense and should be communicated, a clear message. As a father, I would have given my life defending his. And from this day forward, my life will be spent carrying his memory in a way that will impact the lives of others. Initially, I was in favor of the death penalty, but my son's death wasn't painless or humane. You made sure of that, so now I'm opposed to you having the option to leave this world without first living out the days that you stole from my son Cash. You do not deserve the opportunity to circumvent responsibility or leave this world prematurely as my son did. I trust that the Texas Department of Criminal Justice will enforce the sentence imposed by this court and house you accordingly. There is a cage that awaits you at a maximum security prison, and that cage will function as the only home you know from this day forward. After my release, I will rest assured knowing my tax dollars are being well spent, preventing you from ever rejoining society. I can only hope that you decide in the name of my son Cash to do something meaningful and productive with the remainder of your life. And then and only then can the atoning process begin as you await the afterlife. In conclusion, the Christian in me hopes that God will have mercy upon you, but the Father in me prays that this court shows you none. Now my son Cash can rest peacefully, knowing that his loved ones will have closure and the healing process can begin. And finally, this is a statement from Cash's grandmother, Connie. On May 15th, 2021, my daughter and I received a phone call from the Dallas Police Department. They told us that they had Carter, my daughter's 4-year-old son, my grandson. They said he needed to be picked up, and I remember how hysterical my daughter was when they told her they had Carter, Cash's twin brother. But they didn't mention anything about Cash. I asked about Cash, but I received no answer. I knew deep down that something was very wrong. Moments after that, I received a notification on my phone about a child that was found dead on the street in a Dallas neighborhood, and my heart sank. My gut told me it could be Cash, and that was why the police didn't mention anything. Little did I know that was the moment our lives would never be the same. The 3-hour drive to Dallas with my daughter seemed like an eternity. I kept looking at my phone and reading about the child that was dead, wondering if it could be my grandson. I had to remain calm for my daughter because I didn't want her to know. Those were the longest 3 hours of my life. The more I read online, the more real it became that this child was our Cash. I just knew it. We arrived at the police station in Dallas and sat in a room for what seemed like hours, and nobody would talk to us. When the detective entered the room, everything became quiet, and she said the words that would change our lives forever. Cash is no longer with us. Our little boy was gone, murdered in the most horrific way unimaginable. Everything stood still for a moment, and the impact of those words started to sink in. My heart broke into a million pieces, my daughter screamed, and there was nothing I could do for her to ease that pain. Cash was 4 years old. He was just a little boy full of life who loved his twin brother and his sisters. He was happy and brought so much joy into our lives. I loved watching him play with his siblings. I can still see him running around my yard, laughing and yelling and playing on the swing set. He was so happy. You took him from us without a thought in your mind. You took him in the most horrific way possible. Why? I asked myself what your reasoning was. Our lives are forever changed, and Cash's siblings' lives are forever changed. What did this innocent child do for you to do this to him? Just thinking about the horror he went through makes me want to scream. I hate you with every part of my being. You murdered our little boy, stabbing him over and over again and left him lying on the street like he was garbage. Cash will never have a first day of school or graduate or go to his high school prom or to college. He'll never get to have children or a family of his own. You took that from him. The days after this were surreal. Planning a funeral, comforting siblings, consoling his mom, and trying to hold it all together was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. My world was shattered, and to this day I'm still suffering from the terrible loss and grief you have caused. Not only did I lose my sweet grandson Cash 4 years ago, but I also lost my daughter in the process. Her heart is broken, and she is devastated because of what you've done. Since that horrific day when you so cruelly murdered our little boy, my daughter has been lost. Unable to process the death of Cash, she's abandoned her other children. Our relationship is broken, and she's living in a world with no direction. I miss her, and her children miss her. I don't know how to help her get out of the darkness. You created this. You took a truly innocent life, destroyed my daughter, and tore our family apart. I don't know if my daughter will ever find her way back to us. I want you to suffer the way you made Cash suffer. I want you to be locked up for the rest of your life, and every time you close your eyes, I hope you see Cash's little face and his innocent eyes before you took the life out of him. I wish you nothing but misery.
That will conclude these proceedings. Thank you.
that was a lot. That was a lot for me emotionally. Again, mental health is real. The struggles are real. There is help out there. And with that swing of mental health, we're going to totally swing to Taylor Schabusiness. This, yeah, Cindy, that was a lot. That was a lot. I'm need to take a breath after that one. Okay. So we're going to move on to Taylor Schabusiness. She is beyond mental health help, in my opinion. She's too far gone. She's way too far gone. So we're going to listen to an unfiltered jail call of Taylor Schabusiness. It's a little wacky, and there's some talking in here and stuff. So this kind of gives us a background in case we don't know who Taylor Schabusiness is. This will give you a little background on her. This is 20 minutes long, and then we'll get into today's hearing, because actually what she is right now, she is, there's a charge, there's some battery charges. Okay, let me just read this part. It says Taylor Schabusiness pleaded no contest to a reduced charge of disorderly conduct ahead of her trial on battery charge, and she'll be sentenced in December. So she's just out there being all kinds of bad. That's just Schabusiness. She's just, whew.
That I would ever be doing would be something.
The murderer herself speaking out.
Boost the volume, because we all know I'm a deaf old lady.
Exclusively to law and crime. What led up to the gruesome killing she's now serving time for? How her fascination with serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer for talking about today, the one of Taylor Schabusiness, is one we've covered at length here on Law and Crime. Our viewers were so intrigued, and honestly, I kind of understand why. The details are so shocking, so unexpected, and honestly unbelievable, but they're all true. You might know Taylor Schabusiness as the woman who attacked her attorney in open court.
You went off on your attorney, Taylor. You went crazy on your attorney.
This actually happened more than once.
Do we need to see that again? Razzle dazzle. I don't know what the hell she said, but I always thought she said razzle dazzle, but okay.
More than once. You might also know Taylor as the woman who pointed finger guns at the judge during her trial and also flipped off the same judge during the same trial. You might also know her as the woman who was eventually forced to wear a spit guard for everyone's safety at the same trial. But perhaps what Taylor Schabusiness is most known for is murdering her lover during sex, decapitating his body, and then leaving dismembered body parts across the city of Green Bay, Wisconsin. And what may be the most disturbing of all, beyond the fact that Schabusiness sexually assaulted the victim after his head was cut off, is that his own mother found the victim's head in a bucket beside his severed penis and a Jolly Rancher.
Are you positive my son's head is in a bucket?
That's how she put it. I found my son's head in a bucket. So I'm dumbfounded. Didn't believe her.
Here's what happened. On February 23rd, 2022, dispatch in Green Bay, Wisconsin gets a disturbing and unexpected 911 call.
I have no clue what's happening. My girl swears that she found her severed head of her son in the basement.
Did you go down there?
In a bucket. I went down, I can't tell what the pardon my language, I'm kind of a little freaked out.
It was a shocking and disturbing allegation that the dismembered head of Darriynn was in a 10-gallon bucket.
Tara had woken me up and said she thinks she found her son's, that's how she put it, I found my son's head in a bucket. So I'm dumbfounded. Didn't believe her. thought she was having a mental.
If somebody if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, you did what? Excuse me? That doesn't even make good sense. So I understand this guy is like just unaware of his surroundings at that moment, because I'd be like, excuse me, no, what?
Issue or something.
That's Steve Hendricks. He was dating Shad's mom at the time of his murder. He's the one who called police after finding this.
I go downstairs and see what the hell she's talking about, and I can't see anything, so we go back upstairs and contemplate what the heck to do.
So I guess what do you do specifically when you go downstairs?
I went to the basement and observed a bucket that she said, but I don't know, my mind blocked it out. But all I seen was like hair, like an animal, or I didn't know what the heck.
And I want you to keep in mind, Green Bay, Wisconsin is a small town. Technically a city, but I call it a town. Almost everyone knows everyone. It has the small town feel. And yes, murders, crimes do happen from time to time, but nothing ever like this. So when police arrive to this home, they're skeptical at first until they get a closer look at the crime scene.
At the bottom of the stairs to the right, there was a green bucket with a shower towel on top of it, just to verify we had an actual head in a bucket.
The trauma that these cops endure to do these kind of jobs, they have to have therapy. They have to be offered therapy through their jobs. I mean, I couldn't imagine the mental health, and I keep reverting back to mental health of these officers to deal with this kind of stuff.
Lifted the towel off, and there was, in fact, a human severed head in the bucket.
The head belonged to 24-year-old Shad Darriynn, who was last seen with his one-time girlfriend, Taylor Schabusiness.
Hi, Taylor. How's it going? Officer Russell with the Green Bay Police Department.
That's video of Taylor Schabusiness's arrest on the other side of Green Bay, not long after Shad's remains were recovered. And here's where we have to insert some new information from Schabusiness herself. For a few months now, Law and Crime has been working to get a sit-down interview with Taylor Schabusiness. Now, the prison in Wisconsin has denied this request, so we don't have video of the interview, but we do have audio because Schabusiness gave us the okay to record our phone conversations with her. So here's the first question. At the time of her arrest, was she thinking of going on the run?
I mean, that's definitely what I should have done, you know. That's definitely something that, like, any right-minded person would have done. Mm-hmm. That's definitely something that you could have done. But what I did, I stayed in town. I stayed in town, and I was chopping it up with my roommate.
Schabusiness was pretty straightforward in our conversations, and she was the same way after her arrest, too. She admitted to all of the gory details in her police interviews. Take a listen.
You two being intimate, having sex?
It was getting there.
Just getting there, okay. So will this be considered foreplay?
Yeah, it was. And then, I just didn't stop. I don't know why. I didn't stop.
You guys have done something like this in the past?
Not like that.
Do you use manual strangulation during sex at all? To shed like that?
A manual strangulation? Yes.
Do you like strangulation?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about?
He does. Yeah.
Where's the body?
The body's there.
So we're gonna take the head somewhere?
I like that.
You liked it?
Well, you're gonna have fun trying to look for all the organs, so yeah, they're all dismembered. Yeah.
So you dismembered the body too?
Yeah.
Well, what did you do with the body?
Oh, they're in the house.
Somewhere?
They're like,
Basement, upstairs, downstairs?
in the basement. I was gonna bring them, and then, I know I forgot the head. I wanted the head.
Did you bring anything with you?
It's in the van. It's in the van. It's, what is it? A foot maybe. I think it's a foot.
A leg in the van?
A leg maybe. I'm like, I'm gonna bring it all, and then I'm like, man, this is messy, so then I just left it. I got lazy.
Okay.
I got lazy and that's
It was messy. I got lazy. What is wrong with this one? And mental health doesn't even equate in this to me because she's way off. She jumped off that bridge head first. I don't get it.
what I get, so I'm like,
How did you just know where his body
knives.
was? What?
Knives.
Knives? Just more than one knife? Where did you get those from?
Kitchen. So I couldn't find mine, and I wasn't sharp enough.
You weren't sharp?
No. It was alright. Bread knife works good.
Bread knife?
A bread knife works good, yeah.
Really?
I used it so yeah. I got lazy last night, so
Where would these knives be now?
they're in with all the organs and all the body parts.
And where was that?
And the black bag, it's in the black bag
In the basement?
it's in the basement, they're all in the basement.
Here's what Schabusiness told police at the time. She was having sex with Shad. Then she started to.
But she's so casual about her little conversation there with the cops. I find it so disturbing. She's so casually talking about what she did with the knives and the organs and the butt.
Strangle him with a chain. She said even when his face turned purple, she just kept going. After that, she dismembered his body with knives that were taken from his.
And I will say this. She was very pretty. She was very pretty. All these pictures I've seen of her are very attractive. She was an attractive young lady. That's why I just don't.
Mom's kitchen. After that, she hid the remains around the basement and in a minivan she had been borrowing from one of her friends. Now, those clips that we just played for you were from her police interview in 2022, not long after the murder. But here's what she told Law and Crime just this month. And note, she pre-wrote this description of what happened and she read it out almost like it was a poem or something. Take a listen.
I was on the run in Texas after having my baby taken. I decided to make things right and clear up north. When I got back, they put my on the bracelet. I went to buy a bag on the low, so I went to my ex who was a Satan disciple, and family, we all Latin kings, so we beeping. We don't with SDs. I gave him $100 for the bag, and the bag was $50. He pocketed the cash. Me and him and another homie all soaked up, and then my homie left, and I went to drop off my ex, and he wanted before I left. So I went into the basement, and he went and pulled out 2 chains. I asked him, where my money at, fool? And he said, I ain't got it. So I took a chain, I put it around his neck, and I asked him again, where my at? He didn't respond. His face turned purple. There was blood coming out of his mouth. So I laid down on the bed and to listen to his heartbeat, and I said, damn, this motherfucker's still beating. I went upstairs to grab a kitchen knife. I went back downstairs, took off his pants. I sucked his cut his head off at the same time because the only SD that I would ever be doing would be sucking. Then I chopped his off and concealed the crime. I used a nearby shower drain to pour out the blood and put in bags and boxes around the basement to store the body parts in, and plastic bags for the organs. I was covering up his body, and while the people were entering the basement, I would continue to cut him up, and then and I would cover him up, and then when they would leave, I would cut him back up, and then I headed out to the truck, and I started loading up the body parts in there. And then I went back to the apartment I was staying at after chopping it up with my roommate. I went to go get rid of the body, and then there was cops surrounding the place with their guns out telling us to get down, get on the floor, and that's why I'm in custody today.
Schabusiness also gave us some more information about what led up to the murder.
Well, what went down was I had bought a bag of dope. I bought it for $50, but I gave him $100 and he didn't give me my $50 back. And what went down between the whole thing, he was a SD, and then I was a Lion King, and then I wasn't supposed to be doing my with my ex, but that's what now. And SDs and Lion Kings, they ain't good.
Schabusiness mentions in that recording, and according to her poem that she read out, that Shad Darriynn allegedly had stolen from her, and that's why she says she, quote, took him out.
I wasn't supposed to be doing business with my ex, but I did, and then what he did, he pocketed the money that I was supposed to have, so I went out and took his out for that. As soon as that went down, I started chopping up the body, because I did one thing for sure. I did have, I had a lot of motherfuckers out there.
Taylor Schabusiness was eventually charged with first-degree intentional homicide. She was also charged with third-degree sexual assault for assaulting the body after Shad Darriynn was already dead. But on top of all of this, she was also charged for mutilating a corpse. So why desecrate the body in that way?
That I can conceal this crime, I chopped up his body. And then, there's a lot of things going on at the time, but...
And right here is where the Jeffrey Dahmer comparison comes in. In all, Jeffrey Dahmer was convicted of 16 murders in the early 1990s. And I would say he's one of the more notorious serial killers there is out there for the grotesque aspects of the case. I mean, it's involving cannibalism and necrophilia on top of murder. So Dahmer, of course, comes up when we're talking about Taylor Schabusiness, because first of all, they've got the Wisconsin connection. But second of all, he also came up in Taylor Schabusiness's search history. Here's a clip from her trial.
Were there several searches related to Jeffrey Dahmer and other items on the device that were consistent with Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yes. Things such as flaming pentagram, Jeffrey Dahmer, things like that. KKK, I believe, is one of them.
And Detective, did you note the dates and times of the respective searches that you believed were relevant?
It was around the time of the homicide.
And there's a now infamous photo of Taylor Schabusiness smiling next to a photo of Jeffrey Dahmer.
A photograph of my client, Taylor Schabusiness, either laying on a bed or sitting, and then there's a phone next to her, and the phone has a picture of Jeffrey Dahmer on her phone, so they're together. We all know that Jeffrey Dahmer was the worst serial killer in Wisconsin history. There are a lot of negative memories and thoughts and commentary. People watch that trial on TV with Attorney Boyle and Attorney Wendy Patrikas in Milwaukee County. The state is trying to link my client with Jeffrey Dahmer by offering these exhibits.
Schabusiness explained all of this to Law and Crime.
I had my niece with me, and she was watching a whole lot of series on Dahmer. A whole lot of series on Dahmer, and then everybody thought I was dating Dahmer, so people were laughing at my saying I was dating Dahmer. I took a picture with his, and then I was trying to put it on a blow-up doll, a customized blow-up doll. His face, and then send it off to one of my friends.
In the phone calls with us, Schabusiness says she admits to the crime. She admits to murdering Shad Darriynn and dismembering his body. But she says she's no female Jeffrey Dahmer. She's only killed one person.
Nah. I mean, there's mother out there that, you really want to beef with hard. I mean, yeah, you want to murder mother, but, I mean, that's what other mother they be saying on my name, that I've killed more than one, but, man, I'm trying to work on this appeal, and get out.
Throughout the call, we asked Schabusiness about the crime, but also her personal background, what she wanted to be when she grew up, or what she daydreamed about. The other voice in this clip that you'll hear is our booking producer, Diane Kay.
I would like to be a teacher, or I'd like to be a whatever,
I'd like to be still slinging my pussy on the street, but...
Ma'am! What the fuck did she just say? Oh, Lola just come up here. Lola's like, Mom, what's wrong with you? Ma'am, Lola, this Schabusiness is nuts. What did I will rewind that. Trigger warning. Hello, maybe we should have put out a trigger warning a long time ago. Gang, Lola, quit. You're moving my microphone. Gangs operate differently than most people think. It's very cult-like, mind control, weird beliefs, and some mind-boggling stuff. You know, you're right. I mean, and here she's Satan's disciple, and oh my goodness, a lot. Okay, all right, we're gonna rewind to hear her talk about what she's slinging.
You know,
she had life goals. Oh, did she ever have life goals? Come on. She wants to be out to be slinging some kitty cat.
Teacher, or I'd like to be a whatever, you know?
Okay, Taylor.
I'd like to be still slinging my pussy on the street, but, you know, over here, it's all right.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense.
Long cry.
Ma'am, how does the reporter even carry on a conversation with her after her saying that? I would be like, I couldn't do it. Girl, put me on a phone with Taylor. I'd be like, girl, what the fuck is what do you mean you're slinging your kitty? What? Girl, oh my God. I couldn't have a conversation with her.
I'm also asked Taylor Schabusiness about the attacks of her attorneys because, as we pointed out, there are multiple, and she gave us some background.
The most recent one, when my attorney, he was calling my and he was saying I need another competency here, and he kept on calling my sticking his tongue out at me, and so I went off on his. But the one before that, he was doing this.
He was sticking his tongue. Get out! Your attorney was not sticking his tongue out at you. Yeah. She's screwing with her shock value. Exactly. She's fucking with her with her shock value. We'll just put the words out there. I cuss. I don't give a shit. But yeah, it's all shock value. This bitch, she can just stay. She can just stay. She can stay.
He was saying I need another competency here, and he kept on calling my sticking his tongue out at me.
He did not call
and so I went off on his.
He did not.
But the one before that, he was doing the same thing too, saying like about competency. He kept on saying you need more competency here, and you need more competency here, and they constantly keep on saying that. And I said, no, I'm straight. I'm straight. My dad showed up in the back of the courtroom, and as soon as he popped through, that was my dad's previous attorney too, and then he had just fired his. He said, get this guy off your case. So then, as soon as my dad popped up in the courtroom and he sat his down, I already knew it was go time, and that's when I had to go in. So then that's when I went in and I fired it.
Taylor Schabusiness went to trial in July of 2023. She pleaded not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect, and she stands by that.
Definitely insane. You know, I should have went back to Chicago. I should have went down south, but I didn't do that. I stayed up north. I stayed around in Green Bay. I went back to where my bracelet was at, and to continue going to work, and then continue on from there. But instead, I just smoked up with my roommate, and that was that.
To be clear, though, Taylor Schabusiness was found guilty and found to be sane at the time of the crime.
The first verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information, dated this date, July 26, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The second verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of mutilating a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information, dated this date, July 26, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The next verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of third-degree sexual assault as charged in count 3 of the information, dated this date, 26th day of July, 2023, signed by the foreperson.
So she was sentenced to life in prison, which, by the way, is the highest sentence anyone can receive in the state of Wisconsin. They abolished death penalty long ago. Now, Taylor Schabusiness has tried to appeal her conviction, but the court found there are no grounds for appeal. This actually happened recently. She wrote a handwritten note to the court, and here's what it reads in part, quote, I'm a voluntarily dismiss the no merit and extend the time to file a post-conviction motion. So more could be ahead for her in terms of motions. We do know, though, that she's due back in court already in October for a second trial she now faces, this time for assaulting a staff member at the women's prison that she's currently housed in. We'll see what's ahead at Taylor Schabusiness's upcoming.
Okay, so with that, we're going to switch over, and that gets us into today's hearing. This happened earlier today. It is short. It's only 9.5 minutes, but she has lost her mind. And she thinks, oh, hang on, let me make sure it sounds boosted and all that jazz. Turn this down. And let's watch. Look, they wheel her in. She is wheeled in. They don't even let her walk freely anymore. Handcuffed, tied to a chair. She ain't getting out to fight nobody.
This stupid fucking chair. Oh my god.
They have learned their lesson. And look, she made a comment about the chair. I haven't watched this. So.
This stupid fucking chair. Oh my god.
She's talking about the chair.
Oh no.
20. I'm sorry. I can read it. Yeah.
Did you see?
Oh, trying to move the damn closed caption. Didn't want to work for me.
.1048 State of Wisconsin versus Taylor Schabusiness appearances.
This state appears by Assistant District Attorney Tessa Button.
Good morning. Attorney Christopher Keith appears today in person with the defendant, Taylor D. Schabusiness.
All right, this matter is set for a status conference. Mr. Freilich, what is the status?
Your Honor, I've talked with the district attorney's office. I've conferred with my client. I've reviewed the case. Ms. Schabusiness has decided that she wishes to enter into a plea agreement with the state. She will tender a plea to an amended charge of disorderly conduct as a misdemeanor offense. I have reviewed the plea questionnaire waiver of rights form carefully with my client. We've gone over all of her constitutional rights. We've had a chance to also talk on the phone. And we've reviewed the elements for this offense. Both of us have signed the form and I have it available for the court.
All right.
So she wants to take a plea for a lesser misdemeanor charge. Okay. I mean, ma'am, you're already in there for life, so.
Ms. Schabusiness, I've received a plea questionnaire waiver rights form. It would indicate that you're going to plead no contest to an amended count of disorderly conduct, and then both sides would be free to argue that sentence. Is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. This form indicates that you are 27 years old. You completed 12 years of schooling. You do have a high school diploma, GED, or HSCD. You understand English language, and you understand the charges that you're pleading to, the disorderly conduct, what the state would have to show to find you guilty of that count is that you engage in violent, abusive, indecent, profane, boisterous, unreasonably loud, or otherwise disorderly conduct which, under the circumstances as they then existed, tended to cause or provoke a disturbance. Is that your understanding?
Yeah.
You understand that the maximum penalty on this is 90 days in jail or a $1,000 fine or both, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. And you understand that the court is not bound by any agreement between the parties, and I could sentence you up to that maximum?
Yeah.
Still want to proceed? Yes? Has anybody made any threats or promises to get you to change your plea today? You're doing so after speaking with your attorney?
I'm good. Yeah, we going straight. We doing it. We doing the plea.
Okay, you want to do the plea, right? And you're doing so after discussing it with your attorney, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. This form further indicates that you are not currently receiving treatment for mental illness, mental disorder, and you have not had any drugs, alcohol, or medication in the past 24 hours. Is that all correct?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes. The next section are your constitutional rights.
I'm sorry.
Those rights.
What? She needs to be on medicine. I don't care if this is a hearing. She still needs her medication. I can't miss my meds.
Are found here on the plea questionnaire. These boxes are checked. May I presume that you've read these or had them read to you by your attorney, and that you're freely, voluntarily, and intelligently waiving these constitutional rights and entering your not guilty plea, or I'm sorry, your no contest plea? Is that right?
I'm doing that.
You're doing that? Okay. You understand that those rights include but are not limited to your right to a trial, your right to remain silent, your right to testify at your trial, your right to a jury trial. All those rights you're giving up by entering a plea, correct?
Right.
Right? Okay. Mr. Freilich, you went over this form with Ms. Schabusiness and answered all her questions.
Yes, I have very carefully, Your Honor.
Do you believe that she is freely, voluntarily, and intelligently changing her plea today?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Do you believe that there's a factual basis for her plea?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
May I use a criminal complaint to find that factual basis?
Your Honor, yes, you may.
And how many offers total did you receive in this matter?
One.
And you conveyed it to Ms. Schabusiness and she's chosen to accept it?
Yes, I sent it to her by letter. I talked with her about it on the telephone, and we also talked in person today.
All right. Ms. Schabusiness, you've heard what your attorney had to say, correct?
Yeah.
Do you agree with him?
Yeah.
Do you believe that you are freely, voluntarily, and intelligently changing your plea today?
Yeah. I'm going in with the plea because that's what I put my initials down on.
Okay. And do you have any questions of Mr. Freilich?
Never.
Never. And you agree that there's a factual basis to your plea, correct? To the disorderly conduct plea?
Yeah, violent behavior.
All right. Ms. Button, you're moving to amend count 1 from battery by a prisoner to disorderly conduct?
Yes, Your Honor. And we are in victim rights compliance. I have spoken with the victim in this matter, and she's in support of the resolution. She does have some feedback for sentencing, but I can save that for later.
All right.
I do want to make note, the way she is speaking right now in court to this judge is quite different how she spoke to the lady from Law and Crime on the phone. Just pointing that out. Just something that made a little alarm bell go off inside my own little head here.
That motion is granted. So, Ms. Schabusiness, what is your plea to the amended count disorderly conduct?
No contest. We ain't doing no contest.
No contest. Ms. Schabusiness, I accept your plea. I find that it's been freely, voluntarily, intelligently made. I find that there is a factual base for your plea. I accept it. Find you guilty and enter judgment. Ms. Button, you're asking that this be set for a later sentencing date. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I have a copy of the video that I plan to file for the court ahead of time.
Mr. Freilich, what's your position on that?
Your Honor, Assistant District Attorney Button and I, we talked about this, that we would maybe do this case in 2 parts if the court was okay with it. I'm fine with having the sentencing hearing on a different day. I also talked with my client, and she's fine with that as well.
And you would want Ms. Schabusiness in court?
Yes. Yes, please.
All right. The court will reset this. How much time do you think you need, Ms. Button?
Not long, Your Honor. I can file it today.
Your Honor, do you mean for the hearing?
For time to prepare for the hearing and the hearing. Yeah.
I think 45 minutes maybe for the hearing, just to be safe.
Yeah.
Maybe 30 days.
And you know, she can only get 90 days in jail or $1,000 fine.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we?
90 days in jail or $1,000 fine for what they're discussing now, I mean, it's all fine and dandy. And I guess it would be restitution for the crime she did to the victim. But it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to, I see more coming in Schabusiness future. I see more incidents coming. Just my opinion.
Can we do,
She is stuck in that chair. And that's good.
the afternoon of December 1st?
Yes, I'm wide open.
All right. Can we do 1:30?
Perfect.
1:30, Ms. Button?
That's fine.
All right, we'll reset it for sentencing on December 1st at 1:30.
Thank you very much.
Case adjourned.
All right, yeah.
I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right.
Put it on the calendar. Look at her giving a peace out. Girl, get out. Let's watch her wave goodbye one more time just because we're petty. Peace. Okay. Wheel her out. Yeah, she's gonna have frequent flyer miles. I can't even make out what she's saying. Ooh, my goodness. All right. So with that, that's going to sum up our day for our day stream. We had Jose Soto-Escalera. I'll get it all out. Just give me a minute. We had a Spencer hearing to just go over whether or not this was a before the judge actually sets the sentencing to death. They will come back to that. Journey dropped it in the chat earlier. I will have to, when I go back and rewatch my stream, to make sure I'm okay with everything. I'll pick that out and put it on my calendar. We had Huston Danker had a sentencing. He was involved with Karina Cooper in taking the life of Ryan Cooper. Ryan Cooper, is that right? Yes, Ryan Cooper. Who was found deceased in his recliner with a gunshot wound to the face. And Karina is also serving life in prison for that. And Huston Danker got the same sentence. So then we moved on to Darriynn Brown. His sentencing for Cash Gernon was the little boy in the crib that he took and was found murdered from stab wounds a few blocks down the road. He has been sentenced to life in prison. He has schizophrenia and other mental health issues. So I hope he gets help. That's one that really affected me. There's consequences for our actions, no matter your mental health in it. And it's just still difficult. It was very difficult for me to watch that. And then we moved on to Taylor Schabusiness with her plea hearing from her battery during her stint in prison, which she is also on a life sentence because that is the most they can give in that state. And she's was debating a 90-day jail sentence with a $1,000 fine, and she took a lesser plea. So we will see what the judge comes up with that, and that will be on December 1st, and we will go over that when it happens. So I'm going to put a mental health stream together. That will be later on tonight. I have a few errands to run while it is still early and still daylight outside. And Lola is over here digging in my trash can, so I believe she's probably hungry too because I haven't fed her yet this morning. So yes, it was a very difficult watch. I appreciate everybody that was here today that spent time with us. And till next time, we will see you later. Peace.